joining me on yet another episode of The Gray Area. So for folks that don't know, this is one of my favorites. Don't tell anybody else, but this is one of my favorites on 105 Through the Fan. This is 1/3 of the GBAG Nation, Jeffrey Cavanaugh. Jeff, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm well. I'm drinking.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine is doing his fantasy draft in the living room. I've already ruined his team. And brought me a homemade dilly dog. So things are good.
Nice. Yeah. You can hear Jeff every day, Monday through Friday, from 2 to 7 on 105 Through the Fans, part of GBAG Nation. I was joking with Lucius one time. I said, Lucius, I had never heard of a 2 to 7 drive time show ever in my life. And he was like, yeah, you never really heard one because they really don't exist. I was like, wow. So this is like a real thing. Like this is one of the only ones that does this. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
What did you want me to comment on that, or did you want me to?
It was just an interesting observation because I just had never, because I'm from Kansas City. So typical drive time in Kansas City is either 3 to 6 or 2 to 5. And then, you have your evening shows.
Or even 3 to 7 on a long, some shows are 4 hours,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No one does a 5-hour show. That's not a thing. But some of us have been doing it for 8 years, but no one does that. So shout out to Entercom for letting us really spread our wings and get an extra hour more than anyone else in the country. We love it.
And Jeff is, of course, with Brian Broaddus and the General Gavin Dawson. And you can hear them, like I said, Monday through Friday. But, Jeff, we're here to talk, mostly about the Cowboys because I don't know about you, and you're a football guy, former football player. So the feeling around football may be a little bit different for you. I know you got them just guns blazing right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like football is right around the corner. It feels really weird that no preseason games, and then we're just going to just dive right into this thing in week 1 and just say, hey guys, have at it. And we'll see how it works out from there.
Even more so for me, because normally we would go to camp for a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks. And I haven't left Texas. So that's weird. We're not allowed at camp. Broaddus sneaks in, but most of us aren't allowed at camp. So it's not like you have what you're used to coming out of camp every day. We're just like, boom, boom, boom. This is what happened. This is what happened. Like that feels like you're really gearing up for football. This is just, I browse Twitter and see what Broaddus and Dave Hellman said. And I'm like, all right, they did something. So I'm with you. No, it does not feel like we are less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Thursday, right? Somebody plays on Thursday?
That's right. Yeah. So when you think about what's happened and what has feel like an elongated offseason, because I don't even feel like we're about to enter into the regular season. I feel like we're still part of the offseason. They would just play games after that. The Cowboys have made, obviously, several changes from the top down, from the head coach to personnel and everything pretty much in between. When you personally evaluate what the Cowboys have done over the last several months, how has your feeling about the team changed based on the organizational changes that have been made to the personnel to give you a better idea that it's not just a new day because of who's in the building versus who's not in the building, but this is actually something that could potentially be sustainable given who is here now?
I tell you what, so for this offseason, what I really like, Kevin, is they broke from what the Cowboys usually are. The Cowboys have been for years, and maybe it was a Garrett thing, maybe it was an organizational thing, but the Cowboys have been for years one of the most homegrown teams in the league. We draft them, we develop them, that's our team. We'll add a free agent if we have to fill the roster, but they're not trying to have a bunch of outside pieces. But this year, like they did Robert Quinn last year, right? They found a really good value trade, and they did that. But this year, I mean, Worley, Poe, McCoy, rest in peace. Who am I missing? I'm missing people. But Clinton Dix, they were willing to go out on the free agent market, and the Cowboys have been so anti-old guy And I don't mean that you guys are old in real life, players that they signed, but in football years, you're old. And the Cowboys hate that market. Like, I don't want to bring guys in from outside. Let's see what we have in-house. I don't want to bring in old guys. Let's find young guys. But I think they realize they're in a winning window and they don't know how long it's going to last because they don't know the future of their quarterback even. And so they were willing to bring in Everson Griffin, Alden Smith, Don Terry Poe, Gerald McCoy, and that's just the defensive line.
Yeah, Everson Griffin too, yeah.
So they changed. Philosophically, they changed, and they were willing to play the free agency game, to play the old man game. I think they really prided themselves on – at one point, I think they only had like 3 guys on their entire roster that weren't drafted by the Cowboys. And so, you know, they're willing to look outside, and maybe that comes from the coaching staff. But I love everything Will McClay has said about Mike McCarthy. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, when you ask them about Mike McCarthy, it's really funny because they're trying not to be mean to their friend Jason Garrett, but they're like, oh, well, you talk to McCarthy now. You know, you're talking to a coach. Oh, well, you kept the other guy for a decade. That was you.
Yeah.
Not us.
Right.
But, yeah, I think a lot of things are different, and it gives me pretty high hopes.
And it's interesting you brought it up in the context of not knowing whether the quarterback is going to be here past 2020 because, as we know, the Cowboys did not get a long-term deal done with Dak Prescott. I won't go through the histrionics of who did what and why they didn't, whatever the case may be.
That's a good word.
But when you think about it, is that the kind of the mind frame that this team is looking at through? It says, hey, we have a chance right now to potentially do something special. We'll work out the rest later and just deal with what we got right now.
Probably. I mean, the definition of franchise quarterback is probably different to everybody, but if there's such a thing as 10 of them in the league, the Cowboys have one. Mm-hmm. And they're the only team in the league that couldn't figure out how to get the long-term deal done with their franchise quarterback. So it's really weird, right? The running back held out, and they were like, well, boy, we better pay that running back. We better give him his money. We can't do anything without a running back. And so they paid him, and then Jalen Smith gets his money. And then it's like the quarterback who's played really well for you for 4 years and gone 40-24, and the analytics love him. Like the intangibles and the leadership are through the roof. And it's like, well, I tell you what, we're drawing a line in the sand on this contract. Where was the line in the sand on Zeke or Jalen's random gift of a contract? But the quarterback, boy, we better, that's more money now.
We're going to take the hard line on this guy right here. Yeah.
I mean, it's really weird. And so now, I don't know. Like, the Cowboys don't lose a player they want. If they want Dak, they'll keep Dak. But the math of it gets really tricky after this year because of what they're up against with franchise tags and salary cap. And Dak and his agent will be in the right to say, hey, remember what we asked for last time? Add $5 million a year. That's where we are now because if you want to tag us, we get $37 million. And then there's no way you'll tag us again for $55 million. So we get to hit unrestricted free agency in our prime and be the highest paid player in the history of the NFL. So like, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Unless like Dak tells his agent, go to hell and I'm gonna do what I want and don't try to get the most money. It's hard.
And the Cowboys are literally trying to do something that has never been done in NFL history with this setup in terms of contracts, is that they are going to have a player play on the franchise tag and then attempt and then sign that player after playing a year on the franchise tag. That's never been done before. So,
but they're the Cowboys, Kevin. There is an arrogance in that front office that is unfathomable. I really believe that they're thinking, and I was going to say at the end of the day, and that's perfect because that's what Steven says 48 times when we interview him. At the end of the day, obviously. Like, I forgot where I was going. Oh, yeah, the arrogance. I promise you, they couldn't get a deal done. In Jerry and Stephen Jones' mind, it's not well, I'll be damned. Now, if we want to keep him a year from now, we got to tag him for this much, and then the next year would be this much. So, man, it's going to be tough to get a long-term deal done because they're going to ask for this. In their mind, Dak's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He ain't leaving. The Cowboys. And that's really in their head. It's not about, well, this negotiation's going to get tough. It's, where's he going? He's the Cowboys quarterback. Life's good for him. He loves it. It's just that's their arrogance, and hopefully it works out for him.
Me too, because I like Dak Prescott, like yourself and Bobby Belt and others. I call ourselves the fellow Dak Avengers, because I feel like at every corner I have to defend one brain Dakota Prescott because of everything else that's said about him and the goalposts that are moved every time we talk about.
Can I be Fat Thor? If we're going to be the Avengers, can I be Fat Thor?
But you're actually in pretty good shape, Jeff.
Well, no, I'm skinny fat. I'm in atrocious shape. But I try, and I go on good 3-day stretches of exercise, and then I don't work out for 2 days, and I look down, and I'm like, oh, you look like crap again. Fitness is hard, because if you want to be in shape, I feel like you have to do something really good for like a year straight. And if you want to get out of shape, it takes a weekend.
No, really,
it's not fair.
No, it's not. The amount of time to get out of shape versus the amount of time to get back into shape is disproportionate. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's completely disproportionate. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. When you think about this team now going into this year, no Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy's in. Hopefully some philosophy changes with respect to the defensive line and some of the personnel groupings. Are you excited, or are you cautiously optimistic that this is something that, hey, guess what? We got rid of a guy finally after a decade of football, and it seems like this coaching staff has a better idea of making sure that the personnel that they have actually, or the scheme that they have, is going to fit the personnel versus trying to make the personnel fit the scheme that they want.
I was going to be cautiously optimistic, and then I realized, like, I gave myself a pep talk, and it was kind of one of those, man up, dude. Like, what do you really think about this football team? That's what I'd ask myself. What do you really think? Because every year you find reasons for optimism. You watch camp, you watch practices, and I'll tell you, like, oh, man, that guy's about to break out, and that guy, they're in great practices. But this year, there's real tangible reasons. You had a first-round pick fall in your lap that had no business making it to 17. That's about to dominate the league. I love your second-round pick. You had a great draft. In free agency, you went outside your norms to add known commodities that can absolutely help your team. On defense, to a man, they're basically firing shots constantly at the coaches that are now gone about how predictable everything was. And, like, that was an organization-wide trend. The Cowboys defense lined up in cover 3. Hello, here we are.
Yep.
Like, you're not supposed to play against who were all the bums they played against last year, the crappy quarterbacks that looked good. Yeah. Darnold, Allen, the rookie who shouldn't have ever played in the NFL. Like, there's so many of them, and you're watching these games like, was it Driscoll? Yeah, whatever. And you have
Trubisky, yeah.
You should be destroying young quarterbacks. If you're playing a young quarterback that sucks, you make them uncomfortable, but the Cowboys don't. They're the only team in the league where Sam Darnold could line up and be like, holy cow, I feel really comfortable right now. I see where you are, and you are, and you are, and they show cover 3. They're in
That's
cover 3.
That's a rookie quarterback's dream, or a young quarterback's dream.
Yeah, you're showing me exactly what you're doing? Wow. So I think I think it's going to be different. I think there's a reason Mike McCarthy's keeping secrets in camp and doesn't want people reporting on depth chart. Personnel groups, formations, schematics, because it's going to be different than it was a year ago. So in the back of my brain, I've been thinking for probably a month now, 11 wins, maybe 12. But on the radio, I'll be like 9 or 10 because we've seen it before. And every year it's like, wait, am I homering this up? And then I go through it and I'm like, okay, hold on. You're in the NFC East. Are the Eagles going to be good? Well, they lost an all-pro right guard. They just lost their starting left tackle. They've had to let go of some guys. They added one good corner. The Cowboys are better than them at offensive line, at wide receiver, not at tight end, but at running back, at quarterback. On the defensive line, maybe not. But, like, you're better. You're just better.
Yeah.
It's an 11 or 12 win team. It is. And it took me a while to just say, screw it. I'm going to tell you what I really think, because it's so tempting to be like, no, this team, every time I think they're going to be good, they suck.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, I don't believe in this team, they're good. And this time I believe they're going to be good, and they will be. But It took me a minute to get there.
Well, 25 years of evidence would make one feel that way. And especially over the last 10 years, included 3 years where you had a chance to win a division on the final week of the season and you didn't do it. I would feel the same way, Jeff, if a team did that to me over the better part of 25 years.
Did you just call Dak a choke artist?
No, I was talking about the 8-8 teams.
Okay. You called Tony Romo a choke artist.
Yes, which would probably get me canceled around here, but whatever. That's just, the nature of this business, I guess.
I also want to point out, I'm never willing to talk about the Cowboys in a 25-year window because, sure, they haven't won in 25 years. To me, the Will McClay era has nothing to do with the years before it.
Oh, that's fair.
This team is well run in the Will McClay era. In the non-Will McClay era, atrocious. But you take those 15 to 19 years out back and bury them. This is a new era. You have a GM. He just doesn't have the title, and he's awesome.
Imagine that, a GM with the title of not having the title of GM. So
thank God he likes DFW and his kid is in school here.
I know.
Shout out to Will McClay. Please stay forever.
Please stay forever. Yes. And you kind of alluded to it. Maybe a 10, 11 win team. Most optimistic, 12 wins, maybe.
Maybe 13.
If the Cowboys go 13-3, okay, I don't.
Tough schedule, but 10 to 13. That's what I'll say. 10 to 13.
If they beat Baltimore, okay, now I'm like, all right, well, maybe we've got something here.
Well, if they beat Baltimore, they'll then lose to, I don't have the schedule pulled up, but then they'll lose to Washington or whatever.
Right. That's right.
By 20.
So when you look now, obviously the Rams are coming up in week 1, and the Cowboys have now put themselves on paper in a position where you think this is a true NFC contender. When you look at them, what bothers you about this team still that says, well, I think based on what they've done, they look pretty good, but what are the 1 or 2 things that still bother you about this football team that says, hey, this could keep them from ultimately reaching the kind of potential that I believe they have on paper?
Secondary and what happens on the offensive line. And the rest of the league, here's my thing about the offensive line. You have Tyron Smith, you have Lyle Collins, you have Zach Martin. You could tell me and you were the other two, and 25 teams in the league would trade their offensive line for your offensive line. So, I don't want to hear the complaints of, well, I don't know what they're going to get at left guard and center. I don't give a crap. You have 2 All-Pros and a Pro Bowler, and then figure it out. You've got mid-round picks and free whatever. Figure it out. Other teams are jealous of your offensive line. I don't want to hear about that one. So, to me, the biggest thing is just that they lost a really good corner that the whole world hates for no reason in Byron Jones,
right?
And they haven't replaced him. I hope Trayvon Diggs turns into a stud, and sounds like he's been great in camp. But coverage is the one thing on this team that I worry about. And Tyron Smith being healthy throughout the year. But, go unit by unit. If Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith are both healthy, you have good linebackers. If Dontari Poe, Alden Smith, Everson Griffin, Tank Lawrence are on the field, you have a good defensive line. Your secondary, You have one of the 5 best offensive lines in football. You have the best receiving core in football, 1 through 3. We believe in the tight end that they're going to play. The running backs are good. The quarterback is good. What? The corners aren't proven, and I'm not sure about strong safety. That's it.
Yeah.
I got nothing else. Strong safety is blah, and the corners are Other than that, you're loaded. So go in 12.
So I'm going to ask you the question that has been on the minds of a lot of folks over the last, especially week or so now. Do you want Earl Thomas?
Does that have to be yes or no, or do I get to use more words?
You could use as many words as you would like to.
I want Earl Thomas because the whole league is going to be scared of Earl Thomas, and they're scared of him for a reason. Mm-hmm. Don't think that Earl Thomas is going to change a team's outlook completely and that you can trust him to be great and be at practice. Trust me. I want Earl Thomas on a contract that his agent can report is 1 year, $8 million. But what that really is it's 1 year and you get a $500,000 check every game day that you're active with $0 guaranteed. So if you don't show up to work, if you show up to work late, if my veteran leaders on this team don't want you here, if you're not jiving with our locker room, you go home that day. under those circumstances, yeah, I want Earl Thomas. Because Clinton Dix is just the Packers' Jeff Heath. And Donovan Wilson, I hope it'd be really cool if he turned into a player. But Darian Thompson, when was he drafted? 2016. Like he's kind of been hanging out in the league, and this price started like 18 or 20 games. Like he's a guy.
Yeah.
Earl Thomas is still better than a guy on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Saturday, he's not better than a guy. But Sunday he is. So, yeah, I want Earl Thomas, but I want out of that contract at the first sign of anything that I don't want on my team.
My philosophy in sports is scared money don't make money. And the way, at least I felt the Cowboys have operated this offseason, I feel like they've operated on that mantra kind of because they like to ball on a budget and find dudes like an Alden Smith. Hey, you haven't played football for 5 years. We think you can still play.
Everson Griffin, the whole league thinks he's a crazy person. And the Cowboys were like, wow, the price is how low?
Yeah, you come on down too. Come on in.
Do it with Earl.
Exactly, which gives you the feeling that at some point the Cowboys will look at Earl Thomas and says, yeah, you may have had, done this kind of stuff outside of the football team, but just because two of the better organizations on football don't want you, that doesn't mean we don't want you. Come on down and you can come play for us.
But one of them was willing to eat like $20 million just to tell you to go home. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you need that to be a wake-up call for him. You need that to be something that makes every other team be like, I'm good, I don't want you. And then you can swoop in and be like, hey, Earl, heard things got rough for you, buddy.
Right. I feel like
here's a piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
$5 million, not guaranteed.
This is me imagining Jerry Jones calling Earl Thomas. Hey, big head. Hey, what's up? You wanna come over? We can, talk a little bit, see what's going on, and figure this thing out. I feel like that's how I imagine.
Well, hey, big head. See you over there, and seems like you're unemployed, and I got money. Now here's the thing: Coach don't want you. Players don't want you. Steven don't want you. Will hates you. But I do have once a decade. I'm allowed to do one thing I want, and you're what I want. Come on, Earl. That's Jerry.
Yes.
That's it. Like right now, Jerry wants him, and everybody else is like, Jerry, we don't need to do this. Yeah. And he's like, please, guys. It's Earl. We've been after him forever.
Look, Steven cut him off in 2014 with Johnny Manziel. Say, hey, you're not cutting me off on this one, son.
Yeah, my turn.
Yeah, it's my turn now.
He's Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. This is my family. I'm doing what I want.
Oh,
I started watching it 3 days ago, and I'm already halfway through season 2 on Yellowstone.
Oh, okay.
It's dark and violent, but it's fun.
I've heard it's really, really good. I have not. So the only thing I watch on Paramount Network is Bar Rescue. It's one of my favorite shows on TV.
So what is Paramount Network? Like, I know it's a thing, but then they're like, hey, I'm watching it on Sling TV. Hey, I'm watching it on Amazon Prime. Where is the Paramount Network? Where's that app?
You remember Spike TV?
That's a channel, yeah, right?
That's Paramount Network now. Yeah.
So it's just a channel.
Yeah, it's a channel. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was like a Disney Plus, like their own thing.
No.
Okay.
No. Viacom was like, hey, we want to turn this into Paramount Network. We're like, isn't that like a movie company? They were like, yeah, but we want to turn it into a network. So there you go. But yeah, it's formerly Spike TV. But yeah.
Okay.
But I heard Yellowstone's really good, but I watched Bar Rescue. That's what I love.
Bar Rescue's freaking awesome.
It's so good.
I love every time that he's like, look, your family's a train wreck. I'm out. Like, I don't care about you. You guys suck. Because I think everybody's watching, hoping for him to be like, oh, wow, he really did. He turned it around for him.
Yes.
I like the bad endings where he's just like, no, you guys suck. I can't. I tried. I can't with you. You're awful.
Like, you're terrible human beings, and I can't fix you or your bar. So I'm leaving. So we'll just try again later. Enough about the Cowboys, because you talk about the Cowboys all the time. Over these last few months, a lot of things have happened, and I won't get into all of it. But for you, what have you learned? This is kind of a personal question, so I hope you don't mind. What have you learned about yourself and how you have been able to navigate these things, given no sports for several months, trying to talk and do radio, but also wrestling with everything else that's happening in our world, and all of it kind of doing this at the same time. And then all of a sudden, hey, sports are back. And then we pivot to start talking about sports again in that way.
I mean, I think I've learned that I'm not great at it. I tell you, no, you know what? I think the main thing I've learned over the last few months to a year or so is something that we talked about on the phone yesterday. I think the main thing I've learned over the last year or so is, and this is a kind of a part of your life experience is not reality for everyone. It's just yours. It's just what you've seen. So like the biggest thing is we have a fan text when we do our show. I have a Twitter account where I can express opinions that aren't just about sports. And boy, if you are vocal about fighting for racial equality and saying that police brutality is bad, it is effing exhausting. Some of the dumbasses that you hear from, exhausting. And in a way, depressing, and it can grind you down. And that's for somebody who doesn't deal with racism. The most racism I've ever dealt with is I am a white guy that played sports his whole life. So even after like college football, I played in the Texas 9-man flag football contact league down in Lancaster, and there aren't a lot of white people down there. So like you're white boy and you could get trash talk to you where white boy is a negative or whatever. Like that's the worst for me. And I'm just like, well, line up because white boy's going to tear you up.
Don't you underestimate this guy right here.
Right. But like there's not words that are really like what, honky or redneck or like there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine the day-to-day life or the life experience. And again, everyone's individual personal experiences are theirs. There's a lot of black people that will tell you like, no, I haven't really seen it. You know, I got a buddy that was like, never saw it till college because grew up in his circumstances. And it's like, no, I never really saw it until college. But for the fact that just trying to be an ally for equality is so exhausting, I can't imagine how exhausting and potentially traumatizing it is to be somebody who is affected by or a victim of injustice or inequality throughout life. I can't imagine. And that's probably what I've learned. Oh, here, like white people, hey, my brothers and sisters out there, don't be afraid of like words that make you like get triggered. Like here, just read. White fragility under the coffee table is the new Jim Crow. Like there's all sorts of stuff that you can learn to help the world be a better place. But I think people don't because they feel like they're under attack for people even hear ignorance is a bad word, but that's the word, right? Yeah. You can be ignorant of something, and I don't say that with malice. Like you didn't know. Mm-hmm. You're just living your life.
Yeah.
And so now I think there's a lot of people that look like me that feel like they're under attack. Like everybody's telling me I'm racist because I didn't do this or I didn't do that. And it's like, well, just do your best to educate yourself on the history of our country and how we got where we are and things that could potentially change to make the world a better place for everybody. How about that?
Yeah.
That's what I've learned.
And I think to that learning and growth and develop, I think for all of us, not just those who are black and brown or those who aren't black and brown and are allies and are learning, and then thinking about it in the context of sports, all of these things have converged on one another in a time where we have all had to take a hard look at ourselves and figure out, well, how did we get here? How do we move forward? But more importantly, what can we do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And if it does happen again, how do we educate ourselves to say, you know what, this isn't something that we want to see perpetuated in our world anymore? And for everyone, I think during this time, it has been that kind of learning despite the adversity and what has taken place in our world. And I think sports has been a somewhat reflection of how individuals who make a collective decision to make our world better are willing to do so, and now are starting to use their platforms to be able to create the kind of change that they want to see in their world. And mediums such as radio or whatever the case may be, and those who are willing to actually speak on those things while actually learning at the same time is something that I think all of us can learn from. So I asked that question because I know that's something that folks who listen and are wrestling with themselves feel like at times, I just want to just get away and not think about what's inside of my world. Well, I remind folks, I said, if you really think about it, this isn't something that's been inextricably linked, together. I mean, it hasn't been mutually exclusive, excuse me. These things have always been linked together, but now it's in our faces because, hey, we get to sit at home all the time these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and for a lot of people, like, if you want something to be your escape, that's why we just had a couple of days without sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people don't have that option. So why should you?
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have the option to ignore what goes on in the world. So if the majority of people want to ignore other people's life experiences, then you don't get your release, and it took one day. That's what's kick ass, is that athletes have realized their power and influence and how much the super rich rely on them for some of their wealth, to where the Milwaukee Bucks can say, I'm not playing this game. And that night you can get a special session called to vote on things to change policing or some sort of legislation. You can get it done in a day.
Yeah.
The Bucks did it in a day. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And that's kick ass. And that's more important than me watching them play one basketball game.
Before we let you go, you're obviously a huge gamer. Now, look, I'm not gonna lie. So I really haven't played video games since I was really in college. Like two games that I normally played, Madden, just like most folks. I was a Halo guy in college.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Original Halo?
Yeah.
I played original Halo in college, and I'm 36.
Oh,
we were the top box at Abilene Christian University. Me and my buddy Barrett, my buddy Brian, we were the top box. You get on the map with the little buggies and the Blood Gulch.
Yeah.
Halo was awesome.
It was fun. I would have my friends and we would stay up till obscene amounts of time in the morning playing Halo, eating pizza and drinking Kool-Aid.
That's why I flunked out that beer pong.
If you could describe the Cowboys in relation, and I believe it's Call of Duty that you are, that's
yes, Warzone, yeah. Call of Duty Warzone. Yeah.
If you could explain the Cowboys in relation to Call of Duty Warzone, how would you explain the 2020 Cowboys, hopefully this season?
Well, they have the potential to be the Bruin / MP5 or Origin loadout, where you just have more firepower than everybody else. There's a lot of people using the wrong guns in Call of Duty, but if you've got the Bruin kitted out and you've got an MP5 or an Origin shotgun, you just have more firepower and you can be a better player than me. But my firepower will kick your ass. That's where the Cowboys are. You're out there rocking the Growl or the M4, and I got the Bruin. Sorry, dude. You might shoot better. My gun's better. I'm packing more. That's the Cowboys.
And that's CeeDee Lamb on the other end of that, by the way.
Yes. Yes. He's the monolithic suppressor. He's the one attachment you have to have on that team to put you over the top.
And guess what? He's a member of the Dallas Cowboys. I have to pinch myself for it. And now I was like, that guy plays for our football team.
He's on the Cowboys still. He made it to 17.
Here. Yeah, he's still here. That is
what
Jeff.
Happened?
That is Jeff Cavanaugh, 1/3 of the GBAG Nation. Jeff, this was so much fun. I appreciate the time, sir, and love the hat, by the way. Love the hat.
I don't know what it is, but since I've been watching Yellowstone, I kind of want to be a cowboy. I want to be a cowboy. I want to drive cattle and get in fist fights, dust ups, stuff like that. That's the point of TV shows, right? Is to see stuff that you couldn't actually do in real life, but feel like when you're done, like I could be that. I could be a cowboy.
I have graduated from the Law and Order SVU law school 30 times.
That show's depressing. You're seeing sickos.
Look, one of the most iconic television characters in my mind is Detective Olivia Benson. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, she's better than Dude.
Yeah.
What's Dude's name? Bald-headed guy?
Yeah, Elliot Stabler.
Yeah, Stabler. Stabler creeps me out. He's teetering on the edge of going crazy.
Yes. But Maloney is a phenomenal actor. Christopher Maloney is a phenomenal actor. But yes, he teeters on that line quite a bit. Quite a bit.
He's Everson Griffin.
Right. That's right. Doesn't blink. He never blinks. Yeah, he's crazy. Jeff Cavanaugh, who's not going to blink by the time this video ends.
I'm about to because my eyes have to breathe.